Hi, I'm Kathy Johnson. Welcome to Town Talk. Before I introduce my guests today, I want to say something to my audience. I have a passion for horses. I'm here with ladies that have a passion for horses. All my life I asked Santa Claus for a pony and I never got one. Through the years I was interested in horses. I raised a yearling colt to saddle myself, and I thought I knew everything about horsemanship. I read every book I could get my hands on. I knew it all. I knew that a horse was a spiritual animal. I knew how he thought. I knew what to do from the ground. I thought I knew everything, and I wanted to ride dressage. That word dressage that we all talk about in the United States now, that we only woke up to maybe only 20, 25 years ago when Europe was doing it. I tried to keep an open mind with others' beliefs, but I thought I knew everything. Until one day, probably about a year ago, I decided at the age of 72 to get back to hanging around with horses, one of my first loves. You know, when you get to be that age, you know you have more years behind you than you do ahead of you, and you start to want to go back to the things you love. And what did I love, and what made me calm, and what made me feel good about myself was being around the horse. So a friend of mine invited me to a workshop at her home. She owns her own barn, and she has several horses. I went with an open mind, but skeptical, because there are a lot of charlatans out there telling us that they know all about horses. I walked in and I listened to my guest, Margaret Beeman, and she wasn't into her lecture and her workshop more than 3 minutes when I realized that I was in the right place at the right time, listening to the right person. We're going to be doing these shows from now on, hopefully weekly. You'll be able to tune in regularly to learn about horsemanship, true horsemanship, not fake horsemanship. Forget everything you ever learned about a horse and every way you've ever been taught on a school horse. I think this show is going to interest you. I'm here with several ladies who have the same passion I have. And right now, it's what I want to do. I can interview anybody on this show, and you feel welcome to be on a show. But right now, I'm following my passion, so I want you to look for this show on horsemanship, and you're going to be able to follow us and learn something for free. This is for free. You're going to learn something on this show, and it'll pique your interest. And if you ever thought you always wanted to be with a horse, I think this show will convince you. Don't waste any more time. Get out of your chair and go outside and hang with your horse. Now, before I introduce Margaret, I just want to read one or two acknowledgments on the back of her book, The Better Deal. People who know Margaret and who've given her acknowledgement of what she does. I'll read one short one here. Margaret never sets her own agenda. She always works within the parameters of the relationship that you are hoping to have with your horse. Margaret teaches you how to build on your relationship with your horse. At the end of the day, that makes all the difference. And here's one, and I'm going to read this. I usually don't take this long, but I'm going to read this. It's important. A true partnership with your horse is built on a bond of trust created through understanding and mutual respect. The Better Deal is about helping you get there. Margaret Beeman, drawing on decades of experience working with her horsemen and women in multiple disciplines, including national and international competitors, begins with the basics, the facts about the nature of the horse and the herd rules. She then demonstrates the things you need to learn about yourself, how to move your body, control your emotions, and understand the language you will use to communicate clearly with your horse. Finally, she describes a competitive series of ground exercises which apply this new understanding and can be used to evaluate and address problems at all levels. The exercises are explained step by step and illustrated with photos. Margaret's methods are designed to help both the competitor who wants to get to the next level and the pleasure rider or driver who wants to have more fun and feel safer with their horse. And there it is, folks. Whatever you want to do. What I would say to you is be patient, listen. Patience is of the essence. Put away all your what you think you know. Keep an open mind, because trust me, I have taken this course. I'm in the middle of it. I'm having a ball. I love it. I'm having a better deal with the horse I'm working with. I have more confidence in myself, and I had the patience to work from the ground before I got in the saddle. So don't be in a rush to do all the gymnastics and have the fun of riding. This is for serious people who seriously want to be safe and want to be on a horse. It is my pleasure to introduce to you right now Margaret Beeman. Margaret, please take over and please give us your words of wisdom. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you, Kathy, for having me. That was a very enthusiastic, powerful introduction. I'm honored.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's authentic horsemanship that we're talking about, and I'm fortunate enough to I have 3 of my students here today, and all of us feel the same way, and like you said, at our age, at my age, I've been there and I've done that, and I could never give up or exchange the experiences I've had competing and going around the world with horses and people, and helping horses and people get together and meet their goals. And that's what it's about. To me, it's not about winning the prize. It's about feeling good inside and being safe and having fun. So today I'd like to introduce who we brought with us. We have Lois has returned. This is Lois. And she's been with me for 5 years, I guess. And Lois has halflingers. And she lives fairly close to me. And we'd like to get a... Pardon me?
Which is a blessing.
Which is a blessing. You haven't got to travel that far. Lois has halflingers. You have 3 of them.
3 halflingers. And just for me, I'm retired from Wall Street. I've had horses for 3-4 decades. And when I retired full-time, I realized my older horse died and I got new horses, and I realized I had no idea what I was doing, and that I didn't need a trainer, or that they didn't need a trainer, that I needed the trainer to teach me how to train my horses. So I am just absolutely blessed, and Margaret has been a game changer for me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Margaret. We're waiting to see your halflingers, but
Yeah.
they'll be on. Yes.
Well, we can put them up at any time. We'll move on to Dee. Dee's been with me about 2 years now, right?
Almost 2 years.
Almost
I think.
2 years.
Which is like
Yeah.
thoroughbred.
Yeah. She had a couple of horses when she met me, and then she went out and got herself a baby horse.
No, that's
And the picture up on the screen now is of Dee and her a couple of horses she owned before she met me. Who are these guys, Dee?
This is Ben and Jerry. These actually are the very first 2 horses that I've owned. I've ridden horses almost my whole life, but I didn't own any horses until I was 39.
Right.
And these were the pair that I got, and this was my first experience. I learned to drive with these horses. They were great horses. We did rides at Jones's Tree Farm, which was a lot of fun.
And these are no longer with you. You have saddle horses now, right?
Correct. They've passed.
Yeah.
They were well into their 20s when we lost them, but they were very good horses. And yes, I have trail horses now, 4.
And
like
a youngster you're bringing along.
I'm bringing up my little baby, Joey.
Which, by the way, I tried to convince her at her age to go out and get a young horse, but she really fell in love with this little guy, and he is really sweet. She's doing a wonderful job with him. She really is. And then we have Kelly. I think Kelly's been with me the longest, to 6, maybe 7 years.
Yep.
Kelly's been with me. And Kelly actually manages my barn and takes care of the horses there, and she was the first one to start assisting teaching with me. She helps me out tremendously with my new students coming along, and she provides much needed confidence for them. This picture on the screen now is you'll see Kelly over on the left-hand side of her screen, and who are you riding there?
Casey.
That's Casey. That's the horse that she has now. And she's done, what have you done with Casey?
We have done a lot. We've done obstacles, drill team, we go on trail rides. Last year we went to White Memorial and we passed everything from kayakers in the stream to, I don't know what route is over there, but there was traffic that was speeding by us at 60 miles an hour. They did not slow down.
Wow.
And if it wasn't for the things that I've learned from Margaret, my heart would have probably been in my throat. But he was level.
He was
He's
with
a
you.
really level-headed boy.
He was with you,
Nice.
and
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to do here with the show. And I thank Kathy and Comcast and everybody here is to pass this along to people, especially there's women of our age that finally the children have grown up, and we've always had horses in our heart, and we want to get back into it. What I'm trying to offer is a very safe, fun way to be with your horse and do the things you want to do, and to teach you the steps to get to that point so that when you do get to do what you want to do, such as take your horse to White Memorial and go on a trail ride, you'll be well prepared. You'll have the tools in your pocket. So what we're going to talk about today, last week we talked about the 4 herd rules. This week I'd like to talk about the 4 basic skills that come into play when you're working with your horse. I tried to break the authentic horsemanship down into I guess you'd call it an academic format, because there's so much that has to be looked at. And if you see on the screen now, I've broken it into, I made an outline of the different things I teach. And usually when I set a class up or I'm working with a group of people, I try to feature one of these groups of things. And today what we're going to talk about are the 4 basic skills. And those are observation, position, communication, and emotional intelligence. And there are several other skills that come into play with authentic horsemanship, but these are the basic ones. And I start with the skill of observation because lots of times when people see a horse and rider together or horse and driver doing something, you fall in love with that picture and what it means to you. And what I say to people is, what are you looking at? And that's the one reason I teach observation, and I think all of you can attest to once you met me, you started looking at different things when you looked at horses and people together.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And what's the first thing I taught you to look at, to observe?
To the
Their
feet.
feet.
The feet.
To the feet.
Yes.
Watch the feet.
Which I think in classical horsemanship, which is what you were talking about before, was you just look at them in the eye and you never even pay attention to the feet.
Right,
And
Hardest thing
you're
for me
always
Oh
wrong.
my gosh.
Yes.
right.
Very hard for me to put my eyes on the feet. I still have to tell myself that.
It took me so long, remember? You kept saying to me, not the head, look at his feet, look at his feet. Weeks it took me, I think, to just finally connect to.
But once you do, the one thing that it does is it puts you in a place where it puts you in the right position, which is the second skill, to communicate, which is the third skill, okay? And it settles you down because all the information, the correct information, is coming to you at the correct time. And the help your horse is asking you for, or what you need to do to be with that horse and have him do what you want, the information is correct. And it's simply from watching how a horse arranges his feet to put his body where you want. And in the horsemanship and dressage terms, shoulder in or haunches in, if the rider or the person is focusing on a piece of the horse's body and trying to position it, as opposed to putting the feet there first, you're obviously creating a brace in your horse. You're throwing him off balance.
I think one of the things you should start out just saying too is a lot of the work that we're doing is from the ground. It's not, this
Right.
isn't about riding per se. The first thing you have to do is be able to work with them on the ground,
Right.
which is where you can look at the feet as
Is,
compared to when you're on top of them. It's you don't look at the feet or you end up on the
Well, if I
down
can,
at the
if
feet.
I can quote Ray Hunt, the
Yeah.
the words aren't going to be exact, but if I can quote one of the times I watched him, he'd said, "Well, you kind of want to make sure you got that going for you on the ground through his feet before you climb up top
Right.
there."
Yeah, yeah.
And it's, I think all of the ladies here can attest to the feeling that comes over you when you have a 1,000-pound animal connected to you with a halter and you can literally dance with him and get him to respond to you. You know exactly where you are, where your horse is, you're with him. It's a good feeling to get up into the saddle once you get that.
Absolutely. Well,
Right.
you know, man, that's true. Because when I learned to ride, or I thought I learned to ride, I was worried about my position.
right.
Do I have the line through my shoulder, my elbow,
Heels
down my
down.
head, and my heels down, heads up, heels down? And of course, I fell into that pattern that Margaret
Right.
mentions, that I'm working from the top of the horse.
Right.
I'm working from where I want, and I'm not knowing where his feet are. It's very hard to lose those habits
It is.
and think about the feet, and you can't think about the feet until you see it from the ground.
Right.
And that is why I mentioned be patient.
Right.
You're dying to get up there, you're dying to do this and that, but keep in mind, because it worked. It worked. I'm a happier rider now than I was.
And
Very happy.
that's a good time to help people understand the difference between riding and driving a horse and practicing authentic horsemanship on a horse. Riding and driving are sports. They're an athletic sport. You should think about being balanced and sitting and doing all those things. And those are all good things to learn. But what happens is when you go out and take riding lessons or driving lessons, you don't learn the skills that are involved with controlling your partner. And that's what I try to teach people, are the skills that are involved in that. There's riding, the sport, and then there's horsemanship, the skills that you apply to the sport that you've chosen to do with your horse. And there's 52 different disciplines and 6 or 7 different disciplines in driving. There's all different ways you can ride your horse or drive your horse or do things with your horse. Those things don't matter to me. I've competed in just about every event they have out there. And that's not what I teach now. Now that I've gotten older and I still want to be with horses and help people, I found this is really taking off, and people are excited about it because they can get that feeling back without being scared about coming off the top of the horse, or is the horse going to spook? I don't know if I can take him here. The last time he didn't want to cross the water and he started spinning around, and I don't know if I can stay on when he does that. I hear all of these things coming to me, and it's through fear. And what my father used to tell me is fear is ignorance, fear is not knowing. So
That's
if you're
right.
afraid, it's because you don't know what's going to happen. Well, how's about we learn what can happen? How's about we learn how to control the horse and make the horse feel safe and want to be with us? And that way there, it just makes the whole situation a lot safer and a whole lot more fun.
Well, for us, as I see it, with the group of women we are, obviously we're not children, and so what you want to do is you want to be safe first. You don't want to think that you're jumping on the horse and it's like cowboys and everybody can ride, or at a hack stable where they go in a row and all. But then if you're not understanding your horse and how to communicate with him, you're going to be afraid, he's going to be afraid,
Right.
and you're going to fall off or you're going to get hurt. And I know you had said something that stuck out for me, Margaret, was this is for safety too.
Right.
This is when you understand the horse and you're safer.
Right. It doesn't happen all of a sudden.
No.
A horse will tell you when he's getting in trouble or getting anxious or not feeling safe. And which brings us to the second. We spoke a little bit about observation, knowing what to look at and what to look for. And your perception will change a little bit about the situation you're in. The second thing is to learn positioning. And learning how where you are in relationship to your horse affects the way he moves and what he's going to do. So positioning is a really important thing, and it's one thing once you learn that, if you are if you're able to recognize what quarter you're in, then when you get on his back, you'll realize if that horse will yield to that quarter, or if that horse will follow your lead. You have control of that. Rather than to be sitting up on a big animal and saying, I need to put the horse over here, or I need to stop the horse, if you connect your rein and what you're trying to convey to your horse through your hands, then you'll stand a better chance of being safe. So learning your positioning is very important on the ground. You know, and that's one thing I think Dee recognized when I first started working with her about trying to get him to back up or to move a certain thing. You have to be in a certain place to make it easier for the horse to understand that. And then once you feel that, you remember what to do.
And it's amazing because, you know, even when I go out to the barn just to feed or whatever and the horses are around, I'm very aware of what my position is in relation to the horses, to keep myself safe,
right,
to keep them, you know, respecting me, and it's great. It is great.
And the one thing on top of it is it's just a position, it's the presence you bring that lets the horses know that you're the leader now, taking over control, and you're the boss.
And people say to me, well, how do you develop that presence? How do you do that?
Yeah.
Practice.
That's right.
Yes.
And what it is through you develop knowledge. Your presence, and it comes from confidence. And confidence comes from knowing what you're doing, which is the opposite of ignorance and not knowing. So what you do is you put your time into learning about what a horse really is. And when I teach what it is, what a horse is as a species. I teach his culture and his language. And it's just like you take two things that are so different. You have a human and you have a horse. They're two different species.
Yes.
They have two different cultures. They have a different language, a way of communicating. Their culture is linear hierarchy, which many people have a little bit of trouble with, you know, the linear hierarchy, but that's what works for the horse. So why not respect the horse and what he understands and the way he's used to communicating, and step down a little bit, get down off our high horse.
Yes.
Okay, and get down to the level of the horse where he can actually understand what you're trying to say to him. And the horse is a herd animal. Okay, it's in his nature to get along. He wants to get along. He wants to understand where he belongs in the herd. He wants to know what's going on so he can feel safe. He's a prey animal. So the more we can do to help him understand where his position is in the herd, which we might not think about it as a herd, but when you get together with your horse and your horse's mind, it's his herd. And people say, well, I can't take my horse away, you know, he whinnies and he hollers and he does. Well, that's because he doesn't understand what's expected of him. Show him what's expected of him. Help him understand you. And when you take your horse out of the pasture and bring him with you someplace by yourself, he'll know he follows your lead. And he will do it willingly if you take the time to help him understand.
And one of the things I think that people do is they relinquish control and they say, oh, I just want a horse that will take care of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they abdicate their responsibility to be the herd leader.
Right.
Even if it's just you and your horse, somebody's got to be the chief. Somebody's got to be the alpha. Mm-hmm. And if you relinquish it and say, well, the horse will take care of me. No, he won't. He'll take care of him, and you just happen to be there.
And it's just...
Before I met Margaret, that's exactly how I was.
It's exactly,
I had a horse that took care of me. It was once I met Margaret that it flipped. And then now it's I've got your back. Don't worry about it.
Right.
I've got your back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that is true because, you know, a lot of children are sent to riding and they're in with school horses. Well, they get up and they think they can ride. Well, the horse knows the horse just adapts.
Right.
He's used to the thing as long as it's all that way. The minute they go out to take a horse home to keep. The minute the horse gets on
Right.
a trail by themselves or something, now they are not going to know what to do because they haven't established the herd rules that for themselves. They haven't established their own boundaries, right, Margaret?
Right.
Margaret will correct me because I'm one of her newer students. But that's the
Coach
way.
you.
Yeah, that's the way I was. I thought when I rode my horse, my
Right.
yearling and all, well, okay, this is great. If he runs away with me, I'll have to just stay on.
Right.
I have to figure a way to stay on. I didn't know how to
Prevent him from
running away and things like that, and establishing this is your space, this is my space, I'm the boss. And by the way, just to mention, this is something these ladies I'm here with now. This is something that they have been doing a lot longer than I. So I'm new at this. You have to be dedicated to really want to understand this and understand how it is. And you have to practice 2-3 times a week at least.
Consistency.
Right.
Consistently. You can't just say, I'm tired of this, it's trouble, I'm just going to jump up.
Yeah.
You're doing your horse and yourself a disservice if that's what you do.
And the other thing I like to bring up about is, I hate to keep bringing up our age, ladies.
I know, but I think it's
We're the
important.
boomer
Right,
cowgirls.
but the thing of it is the reason all of these women have been successful is because they understand that it's the phrase, you want to prevent your horse from running away. It isn't about how big and how strong you are. It isn't about how physically fit you are, if you can run a mile or do gymnastics. That's not what it's about. It's about your knowledge of the horse. And if anybody has the opportunity to look at any older videos or recording of Bill and Tom Dorrance and Ray Hunt when they were well over 70, 80 years old, handling horses and riding horses, they weren't big and strong anymore.
No.
But they had the horses eating out of their hands, and it's simply because they practiced mutual respect. In any partnership, there has to be mutual respect. You want your horse to respect you. Well, then you need to respect your horse and his limited capacity for understanding human communication.
And you have to earn his respect.
Exactly.
And vice versa. Rather than
right.
you're not entitled to it. You actually have to
You do
earn
have
it.
to earn it, and when you do, when that day comes, you can see it. And that's what keeps me coming back and working with people, because they work so hard and they get so discouraged. Well, I've done it 40 times, Margaret, and it's still not working. Well, look at it this way and try this. And when it finally happens and they finally get the control they're looking for, and it's a feeling that you get, and you said it was tangible,
Right,
the
it is
respect that you
tangible.
get and the understanding between the horse and human, you know that it's possible to have control of that horse and to be safe.
And other people, I can see when Dee and when Kelly get the respect of their horses. So it's not just between you and your horse. Other people can see that you have the presence and you have the respect and you both have respect for each other, yet the person, when they're in a direct feel situation, which is when they're connected to the horse somehow, either on the ground or on top, the direct feel, you've got the respect and you're the herd leader now.
And that's what safety's all about. That's controlling your horse. People say to me, I want to be able to control my horse. I don't feel I have control. I'm afraid that he might spook at this. I don't want to take him there, because the last time I tried to do something like that, he ran backwards and spun on me. My horse reared up. I was trying to take him down the trail and he didn't want to go, and he reared up on me, and I don't want that to happen again, because I'm 60 years old.
Right, right.
Well,
But
whether
it's-
you're
it's-
60 or 6 doesn't matter. It's a dangerous situation.
It's controlling versus conquering too.
Yes.
Which is what we've talked about
Yes.
a lot of, particularly women at least, like to do. You're dominating and conquering, versus Margaret's teaching you
Through the
skills
education.
of controlling and partnership.
Right.
Yeah.
And what it is, and that brings us to your third skill, which is communication.
Right.
Effective communication with the horse. You know, a lot of people can communicate with their horse, or they have, people say, well, have you bonded with your horse yet? You know, and to me, when somebody asks a question like that, does that mean do you understand the? But you know, it's not about a bond. It's about if that horse understands you, and he understands the herd rules, and that you're the herd leader, and that you understand his culture and him, he'll follow your lead gladly. And that's a whole different way of presenting yourself to the horse and getting communication, unlike forcing a horse to do something. When you force a horse to do something, and that's where I made my break from traditional training in the horse and authentic horsemanship. In traditional training, you know, if the way I was raised with the Bury method, you started out slowly and you covered everything you had to cover, but every once in a while you wouldn't be there or something would happen you didn't expect, and the horse would bolt and get away or buck or do something, and oh, now we got a problem.
Yeah, you're
So
usually in the ground eating dirt.
You bring out the appliances and you lay the horse down on the ground and you put him through a whole course of subjection. Then you get him up on his feet and then you put a running W on him, and you had the horse submits to everything, submits to pressure. And that's traditional training. It was the way I was raised. My grandfather and my father both practiced those methods. Long down the road in my career, in my 20s, I got hurt seriously. I broke the transverse process in my back being a horse trainer using these methods. And when I came back to it, I was looking for a better way, a safer way, something that didn't include force and strength, which if the Bury method is practiced correctly, you don't need the strength and stuff, but there's a lot of big stuff that goes on trying to get a horse down on the ground and bring him through stuff. And the communication is what I was looking for. I wanted that feeling. I was calling myself a horse trainer, and people were bringing their horses to me, and I would have a feeling in my core that would say, boy, I wonder if I can get this one to do it. And I was afraid. I was afraid, and I was beginning to question my skills and my knowledge because it hurt. And I couldn't afford, in my position in life at that time, I was deaf. I had no other skill. I had nothing else to make my living. And to raise my daughter, I had nothing but horses. And that's when I met Ray Hunt. And that's when my whole persona, my whole outlook on horses changed. Yes, I knew a tremendous amount about horses and competitions and driving and riding and different styles. And I knew all of that and had competed all that. But what I realized was I didn't know the horse very well.
Yeah. Yep.
I didn't know the horse very well. And what I saw Ray do in his 70s with an oxygen tank on his back on a 4-year-old horse and a ring full of 23 horses that were running free just changed everything for me. And I began to study. It took me 3 years. I tell people it takes about 2 years because it takes me a little bit longer to learn things. But what the man gave me was the knowledge and the understanding of the animal I was working with, who I wanted to be my partner. Well, if you want him to respect you and not run away, why don't you respect what he needs in order not to run away?
A whole new way of thinking.
Oh, it's a whole different approach. And yeah, you got to get set back on your haunches, and you have to listen to a lot and observe a lot to begin the journey. But once you see that, and every one of these women can say, when you see a human and a horse relationship that are with each other and there's mutual respect, you say to yourself, yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want. I want that feeling of being with my horse. I don't want to be scared. I don't want to be nervous. I don't want to be tense. I want to understand that, yeah, we're all right. We're going to go out here and this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about the difference, too, between Margaret can teach you the technical skills, but you've got to shift your mindset around to really understand the horsemanship.
See,
and there's a point that it happens.
Yeah.
And everybody's got their own point, but you have to shift your mindset.
Well, yeah, you really have to, you have to approach it with, if you really have a love for horses, you have to have a respect for them.
Yes.
You can't approach it in a way where I'm just going to jump up and this horse is going to, and I'm going to just play cowboy, cowgirl, or I'm going to be an international dressage rider. That's it. This is what I want. it's so much more than that.
It is.
It really is. And I'm going to dovetail off of Kelly, where she said she had fear. I had the same fear, and I was always afraid, fearful, especially at the canter. And I didn't learn any of these things. I did fall off at 45 at the canter. I didn't break my back, thank God, but I did have a lot of tissue damage. And I never got on a horse again until the last couple of years. I got the nerve to do it on a little school horse. But then I went to Margaret's workshop, and I said, oh, this is it. This is it. And I'm having a ball with it.
Yeah, and it's a feeling.
It is.
It's
the whole it's horsemanship. Through
Yeah.
the-
How I met Margaret was a friend of mine had been injured. She has brain injury from falling off a horse.
Oh,
And I had been traveling all over the place, doing all kinds of different little clinics and watching people, and found out this woman
5
was
minutes
in
away.
5 minutes from
Right.
my house. I'm like, are you kidding me? I've been traveling all over Massachusetts. and
Everywhere.
things, and she's 5 minutes from me. So my first meeting with her was she had this little 3-year-old, and he was kicking at her, and she's just trying to get him in a circle. 20 minutes, she had him going, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. Picked my jaw up off the floor, and I went, that is what I want to do.
Did you own a horse by then?
Yes, I had Harley.
You did.
And I wrote her, I don't remember if you remember the email I wrote you.
Yeah,
I think it was this long. I said, do you do an apprentice? I want to learn. And I
there-
want to learn the language of the horse.
horse.
And that's exactly what
Yeah.
it is. It's learning the language.
and
Right.
it's the feeling that you
Oh,
felt
I got
when
goosebumps.
you saw that.
I got goosebumps. I get goosebumps when I
Yeah.
talk about her and the different things that she does. And I'm just in awe of her. And I love everything I've learned.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just...
And that's
It's
the
an
feeling,
amazing
we
journey.
fantasize, we fantasize about that feeling, and we can get that feeling thinking about what we want to do with the horse, and we want that feeling, and then we go out to the horse, and it's like,
it's different. Yeah.
what do we do? And I've had people taken horses like what Kelly saw and brought the horse around and then have the person come to me and say, oh my God, I've ruined my horse. My horse doesn't act like that with me. It's a different horse. I've ruined it. I'm so sorry. And I tell people, stop apologizing, because we're not making mistakes. We're not doing anything wrong, because I'll guarantee you everything you've done with your horse, you've done from your heart.
Right.
You've done it because you thought it was the best thing to do at that time. You love your horse. You want to do what's best for your horse. The only thing missing is some information.
That's right.
That's all that it is. It's not like it's nothing else. But let's just take a little time. If you want to learn authentic horsemanship, it takes time and a desire to learn. And you spend time just like this, talking about your experiences and what happened, and then you put it up against the outline that I had up on the screen. You'll find any one of the questions that are ever asked of me, I can answer through that outline. I can direct you to, that's a question about one of the herd rules. That's a question about, oh, look at this. This is a basic characteristic of a horse. You didn't take that into consideration when you tried. That's why it went south on you. Let's approach it this way and see if what you're trying to do with your horse comes together for you. And the whole thing is based on facts. It's not Margaret Beeman and how she works on horses. These are proven facts. These are things that can't be questioned. They've been proven. So you're working off of something that, and I use this word a lot, and the reason I love horses so much, they're honest. Yes. They will give you an honest answer, an honest deal. They deserve your honesty about being ignorant about some facts about them. And once you learn those facts about the horse and you start presenting yourself with that knowledge, you'll see a difference in your horses.
Now,
The
one of
other
the
thing
things I was going to say, Kelly, you brought up before that you'd been to many other clinics. One of the things your audience should know is that Margaret is not a showboat person. She's not out there preening. She's not doing the Clint Anderson high profile. It's very low key. There's a quietness about it in her communication with the horse that's just different than most people that you've ever seen doing horsemanship.
Well, that's why I think I would have met Margaret a whole lot sooner. But a friend of mine had told me about her, and she says, "Oh, you got to call her, and she'll help you with your horse." And I had already been through 2 trainers.
Right, trainers.
And trainers, yes.
Right.
And I was humiliated. I was
Right.
made to feel stupid. I was yelled at.
You don't know what
I'm
you're
like,
doing.
I don't know if I want to do this. And,
Right.
And finally, I says, you know what?
What the
Hey,
heck?
third time's a charm,
Yeah.
right?
It was.
But
It was
but
absolutely a charm. I'm just
Yeah,
ecstatic
She's
over-
not a trainer. She's not going to get
No.
on your horse
Right.
and train it to ride or to work with her, which is what trainers do. Because then you get on it, and then that's when you feel stupid.
right.
And there's no
Exactly.
tricks or gadgets involved.
Nothing.
No.
It's a
You know,
flag.
don't
and the
go out and buy your
rope.
outfit. Get your boots. Get your get your safety hat. Okay.
Yeah.
Get your boots, the proper ones and all. But you don't have to buy all paraphernalia, all these things that come up right when
Right.
with a
It's
lot
just
of
a rope halter and a flag, and you. That's it. That's your.
That's it. That's all it takes, and there's not.
That's
You
your
don't.
kit.
You don't have to spend a whole bunch of money on gear. I mean, if you want to look a certain way, that's fine. But your horse really doesn't really care about
And it's
that.
not about the saddle type. It's not a dressage versus Western versus hunter jumper. It's
Exactly.
whatever you want it to be.
And so then we go. We've worked on. We've talked about the observation, the skills, and positioning yourself so that you're safe with your horse and being aware of that. Not only where you are in relationship to your horse, but where you are in relationship to all of the other people that you're studying with, which when I do teach, I like to teach in groups. And the first thing I get from most of the people who have just met me is, well, I don't know if I want to be in a ring with 5 or 6 other horses, people that I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know how my horse is going to respond. It's a new place and stuff. So I encourage slow classroom audit and then go to the workshop. But it brings about an awareness of where you are in relationship to everything else that's going on in the ring and how your horse will tell you if something is up and how you can just redirect it and not have anything bad happen for the positioning. Communication, people learn right from the get-go. I'm very honest. I'm very direct. Lots of times I'll say things that you really don't want to hear, but it's what you need to hear. And I can remember years ago, it was probably 30 years ago, I was given a round pen clinic and was talking to a friend of mine who also had horses, about why I did it or how do you do that? How do you get up there in front of those people and do that? You don't know what's going to happen, do you? And I said, no, I don't, but somebody's got to be willing to get up there and make a damn fool out of themselves in order for somebody else to learn. I'll be the fool, I'll get up there and I'll try it. And that's what I try to project to people is that's all you ever ask your horse is to try. And that's all you ever ask of yourself is to just try. Don't say he has to do it right, or if I don't get it the first, oh God, I'll never get it. You don't know, just go out there and play and have fun. I'll give you the rules to follow. I'll give you the rules of the game, and if you make a foul, I'll say that's a foul because of this or that. Try it this way, and we just keep trying and we have a lot of fun doing it. And that brings me to the last skill that we all learn, which is the toughest for everybody, and that's emotional intelligence.
Well, that's right.
And you said that very well the last show, is that you not only learn an awful lot about the horse, you learn an awful lot about yourself.
Right.
Absolutely.
Keep your thought, Margaret. One of the things I've learned to do is when I'm falling apart and I'm not getting from the horse what I'm trying to communicate, that's when I stop and do something else.
Yes.
You get when you reach that point with the horse that your mind is saying, I can't do this. Now it's time to stop, take a breath, begin again, do something else, and start. That I found that's the on the emotion.
By doing that, Dorothy and I call it the power of the pause.
Yeah.
Okay, because what's going on is your mind is going so fast and you want to do it and you're getting anxious and your heart rate's getting up and you start to move differently.
Yes.
And that's why I say, like you learn an awful lot about the horse, you learn an awful lot about yourself, And here's where some respect for the horse comes in. When you take that pause, your horse learns a whole lot about you.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't take that pause, your horse learns a whole lot about you. Which one would you rather have your horse know?
The quiet one.
That's right.
Taking the pause is what builds the trust.
And it's what it enables the person to slow their heart rate down, slow their
Right.
mind down, and realize they just got ahead of themselves or they got ahead of the horse. It's because to get your timing right, it's like, oh, well, actually what I did was I asked him to do that before he finished doing this, or he wasn't ready for that yet, and that's why he didn't do it. Or I didn't do this or that. I didn't project to him what I wanted to do.
Or when you get your energy up,
And
Right.
that's
or
how
you're
you
yelling,
learn.
or that the horse's energies, he's going to go up.
That's
Y-
right.
You know, I mean, you can utilize your energy, like if you want to get your energy up because you want him to go,
Right.
but it's you're doing it for.
Right.
But I noticed it is a mirror
Yes.
image of yourself, really,
Yeah.
almost.
And one of the first things I teach about emotional intelligence is just that you have energy. Can you name it? Are you anxious and excited?
Mm-hmm.
Is your energy up because you're scared? Or is your energy up because you're afraid? Okay, well, look at each one of those. And how do you move when you're experiencing that emotion? Now turn around and put yourself in your horse's position and watch yourself. What is he saying? Is that what you want your horse to say? Is that how you want to ask your horse to do it?
Right.
No, you want to be simple and calm and direct
Mm-hmm.
so that your horse can follow you and understand you. The thing I find probably the last I read, it must be 8 or 10 years now, is the whole communication thing. We communicate so fast and we have so many different methods of communication. Our horse doesn't know what a computer or text is or an email or telephone. They don't know that. Not
Just
only
selfies.
that, yeah, exactly. They're natural. They're an animal. It's nature. Nature has a rhythm of its own. And what's happened in our society with humans over these years is we've become much faster than nature. And the horse simply can't follow you. You can get a horse that's trained exactly to do what you want to do, and you can be trained through riding lessons to do exactly what the cues that are needed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that works absolutely beautiful until God or nature throws something, the universe throws something in there you didn't expect. Then what do?
The horse jumped.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
Yeah.
this happened, and I'm eating dirt, and I don't ever want to ride again. I'm hurt. Well, if you take the time ahead of time to learn what goes into all those moments and that it doesn't happen all of a sudden, you can save that and have a better relationship.
Now,
Yeah.
one of the tricks that helps to control that panic and emotion is to watch their feet,
Yeah,
because the eyes lie.
that's
And
right.
if you're thinking what the eyes are saying, first of all, you're wrong. but the panic diminishes when you're looking at the feet. So when I'm at the end of the rope, literally, and my horses start bucking and going crazy, it doesn't get me as up if I'm watching
If
the
you're
feet.
looking at
I
the
say,
feet.
okay, just keep moving, keep moving.
But
Yeah.
what do you do when you're in the saddle and he spooks? I know when the ears go up, I usually see Calypso's ears go up, and I say, okay, he's sensing something. But I have to train myself that if he stops and jumps sideways or something, I mean, I go, oh no, you know. But I'm trying not to do
What
that.
you're doing is you're learning to ride to the
Ride
to
to the
watch
feet.
the feet and ride to the feet, and then you're gonna, once you know they have 4 feet, you're gonna be able to start riding to where the feet
Feet are.
are if it gets away from you.
So
and
the moves
stay
that you
with
learn,
it.
the moves that you do on the ground,
Right.
your 5 parts of your circle work.
Right.
When you ride, you think about what that looked at. You find the feet when you ride. You find the rhythm when you ride. And just like you do on the ground, if you think there's a energy coming up or it's going someplace you don't want to go, you simply gain control of the feet by disengaging.
And
Right.
this is where kind of I'm at now, because you ladies have more experience at this new way of true horsemanship is that now I feel very privileged that I'm on Calypso now and we're walking, okay? And I'm learning that, which when you've learned one way, it's very, very,
Very
difficult to start imagining where's Calypso's back leg when he's moving this way. And now I'm having to pay attention to
Right.
feel and to where he is. And now I say to myself, well, I'm not going to worry about, because you always, is my position right?
Right.
Am I riding right?
Yeah.
Am I looking? No,
And
now
that's
I'm having,
respect. That's what you're
Right.
doing, is you're learning how to respect the animal you're riding.
yeah.
You're
Yeah.
learning to
And
respect,
communicate.
to
Respect
actually
and
know
communicate.
what he's doing and where he's at, instead of expecting him to just follow a cue. Which,
Yeah.
when you're given riding
Right.
lessons, you're told, right rein, right leg, or this or that, but you don't really know where that's going.
Well, one thing that you helped me with your method and all is when I'm with Calypso and we're in the ring, there is something at one end of the ring, maybe a little group of fox that live there, some little thing is in there. And I've learned to watch his ears, and I've learned to watch, he'll pick his head up and he's telling me something's over there. And I'm learning to tell myself, nothing's over there, and I'm doing better at that.
Right. It's
The
practice.
first time he
Practice.
did that, I went,
Right.
You know?
reacted. You didn't respond.
No.
And that's
Right.
because you didn't have the right information. And that's what happens is when the horse's head comes up where he gets a little, the person says, oh my God, and it's a
And you wanna take
reaction,
the reins.
You may as well throw gasoline on a fire.
Right.
and then he says, oh no, she's upset, I'm upset.
We're getting home.
What Margaret taught me, one of the things that really stuck in my mind is that if I get confused, if she's not there to help me
Right.
along with what to do, and I'm going along and I'm not getting the response that I need, I'll sit in the saddle, if I'm
Right.
riding him at that time, I'll sit there,
Kathy,
take
Take
a
a-
deep breath, sit, and just
Do nothing.
Let it go.
Just
let it go,
Yeah.
give myself a minute or two, and
Regroup.
regroup.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
ladies, I'm being told by my producer here that we have 5 more minutes.
Okay.
So, Margaret, I'm going to give it to you so that you can get in any information you want and finish your thoughts. So,
Okay.
you go ahead, Margaret.
Okay, well, first off, I want to offer to your audience that if you have any questions about authentic horsemanship, this is your opportunity to learn for free. And you can email those questions to my website. I think I think that information has been put up somewhere, and we will answer them.
Oh,
on
there
the
it is,
next-
yep.
Yeah, we'll answer your questions. It depends on how many we get. That's what we're going to try to do, is to address audience questions through my experience and Kathy's and the students' experiences, so that we can get the word out there and have a little bit better thing. And if I could ask that we play that little clip that we had last week, this is the kind of fun you can have, and be safe and have fun when you're with your horse. You can.
Will you take questions from them through your website? or-
Yes, that's the way to. I think that's the easiest way to do it. If you have any questions about the show or anything that we talked about, just email me the question, and my information is up there. And then on our next show, depending upon the questions and how relevant they are, we'll try to answer them.
Okay.
Facebook. too,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
You're on Facebook, yeah.
Yeah, that's the picture and the information. There is also, if they can find it back there, a video clip that we played last week. And it's just a fun little thing that shows Lois and I.
Oh,
and,
And there she goes.
Yeah.
It's riding to the feet. These are
Riding
my
to the feet.
horses. And a 1-year student, me and Margaret.
Yep.
My donkey.
Daisy. We
I
can't
love
forget Daisy.
Little Daisy.
I'd love to
Can't
see
forget
Margaret
Daisy.
take that kick that the horse. There she goes. There she goes. Oh no.
It's the last clip.
Oh, okay. Oh, and your
there
little
she
donkey.
is. She's the superstar.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Ah, there you go,
She
Margaret.
rode that buck right
That was
through.
beautiful.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
beautiful.
It was just
Yeah,
a kick in the snow.
You know, Margaret, I, all my life I wanted to ride the way you ride. I probably will never be a brave rider like that, but if I can master walk, trot, and maybe, if I never canter again, I don't care, but maybe a canter. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll get you there.
We'll get-
Yeah,
Yeah, we will.
we will.
Yeah, we will.
All right, so I think Margaret has her website up. Of course, I urge you to, oh, by the way, you know, I work for a library, and I'm hoping that maybe we can put your book in the library. I won't say where right now or anything like
Okay.
that, but I'm hoping that your book ends up in a library, and it'll be there. I guess we're going to get ready. Is there anything else you'd like to say? I think we have just a little bit more
No,
time.
I think everything is going well. I'm very happy, and I look forward to the next show.
Well, I want to tell my audience to, if you like this show, please stay tuned. We're going to keep doing these shows. We're going to keep offering the information and offering a way to ask Margaret questions, to learn more about true horsemanship, and just have fun. If you're passionate about horses, I think Town Talk right now is the place to be. We're going to say goodbye in a minute, but hey, listen, we'll stay on as long as my producer wants us to be on. This show will air on Comcast, the different dates. I'll have a regular show now, and I'll be posting those dates. Oh, there, Margaret's name is up there again, and her email address is up there. And we're
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy.
good to go. I can say goodbye. This is Kathy Johnson saying have a better tomorrow, a wonderful day, and I hope that you tune in again. Take care. There we are. We had some
Great.